This conference will now be recorded.
Right, firstly, anyone, any questions that I can take before we can get started with Terraforms? Anyone, any questions out there?
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning, please go ahead.
Actually, I'm just a little bit confused yesterday. I have small doubt.
Okay, sure, go ahead, please.
Sir, for example, sir, after opening VS Code, we'll just create one folder, and
Mm-hmm.
inside which we are going to create file called main.tf, and inside that we'll write our Terraform code, right, sir? Then
Correct.
first time we are going to execute these three steps called initialization, plan, and back apply.
Apply. Correct.
Then after executing these commands in the cloud, automatic resource got created.
Correct.
So, for the next time, if I create one more template in the same
Mm-hmm.
folder, that
Okay.
time we should not execute all these
Yeah,
commands,
you
right? Won't.
need the yeah, it's only the plan and apply. I mean, you can also do init also. I mean, it shouldn't really harm you. You can do
Mhm,
init also, not a problem. But you
mhm,
can avoid that step if you already have all your templates or if you already
mhm.
have all your plugins.
So next, if you create one more folder, that time for the first time you have to perform all these steps, right, sir? If in
Correct.
the next
Yes, if
folder.
the new folder, yes, in the new folder, if the Terraform plugins are not there, then you have to
Mhm.
perform.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. And one more doubt, sir.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
please.
for example, in this folder, I have multiple files are there, multiple templates are there, like main one, main two, main three as there,
Hmm.
using which I have just created different resources. So
Right.
if I execute these steps in the PowerShell, so which file is going to execute first, sir?
Which file is going to execute first? It depends upon the resource dependencies. For example, in the first file, you're trying to create a resource group. In the
Mhm,
second file, you're trying to create a storage account. So Terraform will understand, okay, what is the resource dependency, what should I create first, and then it'll go ahead and create. So it's not about the file, but it's
mhm,
about the resource dependency. If the resources are not dependent upon each other, Terraform will try creating them parallelly. So it's
mhm.
going to be parallel creation if the resource dependency is not there. If you have a resource dependency, then it's going to be serial, order by order.
Sir, actually, my doubt is, for example, in the first file, I've just created a resource group and storage account.
Hmm.
That's done. And the second
Right,
file, I have created some web apps or something else.
right. But
In the
my
second.
question is that, yes,
Mhm,
I understand your point. I understand your point. My question
mhm,
is that if I put a, let's say, let's say tf or main2.tf in my second
mhm,
file, I'm trying to create a web app, just a web app.
mhm.
For creating a web app, you need a resource group.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So do you
Yes.
already have the resource group or not?
Yeah, already. Yes, sir.
Then it'll just go ahead. First check
Mhm,
what are all the resources that are there. So I'll see whether your resource group is existing or not. So I'll say, okay,
mhm.
fine, resource group is existing, won't even touch the storage account and go into the web app. So my point is that it's not the file or it's not the order of the file, it's the resources that matter.
Okay, sir. Okay,
It's the
sir. Got it, sir.
resources and the dependency that matters.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Got it, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Any more questions, guys? Anyone, any more questions I can take before we can get started? And there are a couple of emails that I need to address. So I'm not finding time in the day, so I'll go ahead and address it today. I have a couple of things to go ahead and address out there. So I'll do that right now. I'll do that today out here. So let me do this. Let me go to my, let's say, folder, and what I'll do right now is that, so yesterday from class one, we have created all these things. So what I'll do is I'll just delete all these files. Okay, I don't need the plugins. I don't need anything. And I've also deleted the resources on the Azure portal. So that Terraform RG, it is not there. So we'll try to reapply it today. And now if you see, so that Terraform TF file or that particular state file is gone. And also you have something called the dot Terraform file wherein you have all the plugins. Even that is gone. So since everything is gone again, I'll have to do a Terraform minute once again. So this is the point of Terraform minute, is that Terraform minute just helps you download the plugins which are necessary in order to do that conversion of that file from a HCL file to that particular JSON structure and send it across to the Azure portal or send it across to the REST API servers of Azure in the background. So this is your Azure and this is your Terraform and this is where HCL basically comes into picture, which helps you easily to write the language. And then from here, I am going to, let's say, perform Terraform init, which is going to, let's say, download all the plugins. And after that, we're going to do Terraform plan. And then Terraform apply, which is going to create the resources. So all these three commands will be using those plugins. So this command will help you download all those plugins, which is initialization. After that, plan will give you an idea of what it's creating or what it is changing, what it is destroying. And this is Terraform apply. I'm sorry. Terraform apply will go ahead and start creating those resources. So one step after the other on the Azure portal out here as such. So let's do that once again. So I'll copy this entire folder path. Again, I can write the commands either in VS Code. So if you yesterday I wrote it in, let's say, PowerShell. Today, if I want to write it in VS Code, I'll just say Control N. I'll just say PowerShell, and this is going to open up a PowerShell terminal for me within VS Code. And again, for writing this, you will need an extension called PowerShell. You need an extension which is called PowerShell. So this one needs to be installed. And once installed, you can start writing these commands. So let's start with initialization, and I'll say save. I'll say commands.ps1. So it's a commands.ps1 file, a very simple file to hold my commands. So I'll say Terraform init. Also, I'm not doing a login because yesterday I did a login, so I don't think I need to do one. In case if it is required, I'll go ahead and let's say do this again. So now it is going ahead initializing the Terraform backend. So this is the input, this is the output console. So it's now going ahead downloading all your Terraform plugins. So if you see the .terraform, inside that now you have the exe file. And now it's telling Terraform has been initialized successfully and I'm good. You can go ahead and start executing your template. So this is what it tells you. So background is successfully initialized. I think I'm good. And let's go and do a CLS clear screen. Now let's go ahead and let's do our planning. And let's observe what happens to our file structure as and when we do a plan. As and when we do a plan, it just goes identifies, okay, fine, resource group and storage account. These are the two resources that you want to create. These are the two resources that you are commanding Terraform to go ahead and let's say create. And Terraform in the plan is telling that, okay, fine, you know what? If the two resources are not there on the Azure portal, reason being I deleted them. So Terraform will tell, okay, fine, in the planning, let's look at what happens really out here. As and when I initiate a Terraform plan, do you see you have a file that is getting formed which is called terraform.tf state. So it's going ahead and it's creating a temporary tf state file. I'm calling this as a temporary tf state file. Reason being, this is created while the plan is running and deleted after the plan has run. It's a temporary file. Now, why do I call this as a temporary file? Now, if you see, planning is done. It's telling two resources to add, zero to change, zero to destroy. And I don't see that terraform.tf state file anymore. It's gone. So let's see what really happens. Why does Terraform really create a state file? What is the significance of the state file? And that's what I want to, let's say, experiment out today. So state file, a very, very, very important JSON file that gets created. It's a JSON which goes by the extension called anyname.tf state. This is the extension of something called as a Terraform state file out here. So let's understand this. What really happens here in the Terraform state? Why is it significant and so on and so forth? Now, what happens is that whenever you do a Terraform plan or whenever you do a Terraform apply, there are two things or there is something that is happening which is called comparison. So what Terraform is telling is that whatever you have written in this file, whatever you have written in this file, this is the truth. Meaning, no matter what is the state of resources in Azure, Terraform will try to get the state of resources, or Terraform will try to change the state of resources, or Terraform will try to, let's say, create new resources if not present. But while doing that, Terraform takes the help of something called as a TF state file. So what Terraform does is that Terraform goes ahead, requests the Azure portal that, okay, fine, you know what, give me the state of your resources, and Azure portal will tell, okay, fine, you know what, this is the resource structure. So it will tell you, okay, fine, these are all the resources. In my case, since there are none, firstly, the Azure portal is going to give a blank file. There is nothing in that file, just a JSON body. Now, Terraform will do a comparison between these two files. This is called as a desired file or a desired state, because this is what you are commanding Terraform that, you know what, this is something that I decide to create, and this is the actual state. Now, TF state files will always and always represent what is there on the Azure portal, the actual state of resources, and Terraform application or Terraform planning will compare with the actual state, and it will try to, let's say, get the actual state file to the desired state. In that way, it will end up changing the Azure portal. So whatever is there in your desired state, that will at the end come in the, let's say, Azure portal. But in between, to track all your changes, to understand how things are happening, Terraform creates something called as a state file out here. So if I go back in Terraform planning, I do not have a state file. State file will not get created. Terraform plan just creates a simple state file, understand what it needs to do, and once it understood what it needs to do, it doesn't need let's say that particular state file. So application will create the resources and also end up producing your state file out here. So set Terraform apply, and I'll execute this out. And as soon as I execute this out, let's see what really happens. Now you see there is a state file coming, and if you click on the state file, it's telling unable to open the state file because Terraform is already performing operation on this. And when Terraform is performing some operations on this, Terraform will put a lock here. This file is locked, which means you as a user cannot change it. You as a user are not expected to change this. I'll say okay. And here it's asking me there are two resources to add, zero to change and zero to destroy. Do you want to, let's say, go ahead and enter a value? I'll say yes. And as and when I do a yes, it's going to go ahead and start performing some actions out here, which will now create the resources. Not only create the resources, it will also update the state file to represent whatever is the state of the resources on the Azure portal. So Terraform's idea is to get all these three files or all these three objects that you see on my screen into a balance. So it will say whatever is there in the desired state, I'll try to change it. I'll try to make sure that the desired state file and the actual state file, which is this one, both are in sync with each other. And while doing that, it will get your Azure portal also into sync with all these things. So all these three systems must go hand in hand is what Terraform really tells you. Is that my state file, my actual state of resources and the desired state, all of them should be in a great balance out here. And that's the reason now it identified that, okay, fine, there are no resources on the Azure portal and the state file did not really give me anything. So application is complete. Two resources added. If I go into the Azure portal, just refresh this out. I have a Terraform RG first inside which I should be having a storage account. It will take some time for the storage account to get reflected. But if I come down and go into the terraform.tf state, now I'm able to read that file. I'm able to edit that file, read that file, but highly recommended we do not edit it. Again, you have something called version, you have outputs and etc. And very importantly, I'm concentrating upon the resources block, which is a composition of two different resources. One is a resource group, it's saying managed. Type is Azure RM underscore resource underscore group. And then the name is RG. This is the local name, guys, that we declared yesterday. And this is the actual name of your resource. Terraform tells, okay, fine, you know what? In the desired state, this name correlates to this particular name. There is a tight coupled relationship between these two. This has to be maintained, meaning here Terraform is telling, okay, fine, RG is equal to this Terraform first RG, something like this. So it's telling in this state file, this is what I have in memory. And if I scroll down, I have Azure RM storage account. Name of the account is store. Then if you scroll down, you have something like dev tf stores us 000. That's what the name that I have given in my main.tf, which is the desired state file for me. So this is what I have. Now I have a state file. I have all these things out right now. Now let's see. My question, guys, is that let's see. If I do a Terraform planning again, I will not do a Terraform in it because initialization is already done. So I'm not doing the init out here. If I do a Terraform plan again, just tell me what is going to happen. Anyone? No, just take a guess. If I again do a Terraform plan, because now my Terraform planning is done, application is done, resources are already created, Terraform state file is also there. Now when I do a plan, what do you think is going to happen? Anyone? I need some inputs here. Guys, I need some inputs here. Good, please.
It is a serialization and like incremental in nature.
Incremental in nature, but yes, but what is going to happen?
It
I mean,
will show, it will say that the resource is already created. Do you want to destroy? Do you want to create again?
okay, the resource is already created. Do you want to destroy? Do you want to create again? Okay, I'll take that input. Anyone else?
It will compare with state file. This when you
Okay,
execute this
right. And what
already
is
with
it going to take? Yes. And what do you think it's going to tell when it compares to the state file?
mm,
Yes, what he's telling TF state has the data about all the resources already there. Yes. So what is it going to tell? What do you think that the plan is going to tell right now? Let's execute that, and it's executing in the background. So let's wait for the plan to execute. But yes, any inputs here? What do you think will the plan do right now? If you understand, if you understand this correctly. So the plan is seeing what are the desired state. Now the plan directly compares it with the TF state out here because it has some TF state out there. So it's doing a local comparison. And my question, guys, is the desired state and the actual state, are they both in sync with each other? Yes, no, maybe.
yes.
Yes. So this is yes. They're in sync with each other. If they are in sync with each other, this is what is going to happen. So it's saying, okay, fine, you know what? Let's scroll down. Okay, why is it telling, okay, fine. Okay. It's telling Terraform has compared your real infrastructure against the configuration and found no differences. So no changes are needed. It's telling, you know what? Until this one, this was the earlier application. Now this is where Terraform planning is telling it's compared your real infrastructure with your configuration. which is nothing but the actual state file versus the configuration, the desired state. It's telling there are no differences, so I'm good. I do not have to, let's say, do any operation out here as such. So Terraform will say, okay, fine, we are all good here. But what if I change a property from Central US to East US 2? I change the property of a resource group in my Terraform desired state file, or in my Terraform desired, let's say, in my Terraform configuration file, you can say. The Terraform state file in its memory, it's now telling that the name of the RG is RG and the location of the, let's say, RG Central US. But in the main file, you're telling RG and the key value pair, the location right now, this belongs to East US 2. Now tell me guys, if I do a Terraform planning command, let me firstly clear that screen, the output screen, so that we can avoid confusions. Now tell me guys, if I do a Terraform plan, what do you think is going to happen? Now question again, this is your configuration file or the desired file. This is your actual state of resources, actual file. Now I am doing a comparison between, let's say, the configuration and the actual file out here. Is there a configuration change between both of them? Yes, no, maybe. Is there a configuration change, guys?
No, sir.
No. When you say no, why is it no?
Because it will compare the we compare with
Hmm?
the desired file. Sorry, state desired file.
Yes.
Then once we set the location, we cannot change back again. So it's compare with the state file. Sorry, desired file.
Yes.
Then it's getting error in this phase here.
It's getting error in this phase. Okay. Okay, fine. So yes, getting error in this phase. Okay, fine. That's something that I can take. Anyone else? Anyone else? What do you think that Terraform would do, or what do you think the Terraform can do out here? Anyone? I need inputs, guys. I need inputs here. Just take a random guess. Guys, come on. I don't have the entire day, so I need some inputs here. Just take a random guess. What's going to happen right now? Let's see where we are with this.
Same, it will throw an error.
Throw an error. Okay. Anyone else? So let's run the Terraform plan by when we're discussing about that. Okay. Anyone? Another resource with the same file name cannot be created. Yes, another resource with the same file name cannot be created. So this is the idea. Terraform will always and always try to, let's say, maintain a balance between your desired, which is the configuration file, and your state file out here, which means that Terraform will try to edit or try to change the state file and match it with the desired file. It'll always do that. No matter what, it'll always do that. Just give me a second. No matter what, it's always going to do this. It's going to compare between your, let's say, state file. It's trying to do a comparison between the state file and the desired state out here. Two things. It's telling, okay, fine. In this, what was your location, or what is your location? It's East US
And
2.
east, yes,
Yes, and here it is what? What is the location here?
Central
central
It's
yes.
US.
Central US, exactly. So Terraform will tell, okay, fine, you know what? I see that this location of a local name called RG, this is here East US 2, but here there is Central US. There is a mismatch in this configuration. So what Terraform will tell, okay, fine, you know what? Since there is a mismatch, I'll try to get this in balance. So it will say, okay, fine, forget about Central US. Let's do East US 2. and the application will start going ahead and applying the same thing out here. So when the application is trying to apply the same thing, what it will do, hook or crook, is that it will try to change central US. It will try to change the, let's say, location of the research group from central US to east US too. But if I'm telling guys is that I want to change, so this is my statement. I want to change the location of a research group from central US to east US too. Can you do that? And if you want
Not
to do that, how
possible.
do you do that? Yes, it is not possible, but I want to do it. So what is your option?
I have to create the resource group again. I have to recreate it.
You'll have to recreate it, but can you recreate the same research group with the same name again in a different location?
Not possible.
Not possible.
It
So
will
what do you
delete
need?
that and create new one.
Exactly. It should delete that and create new one, like the way you need to do. That's what Terraform will also tell you. Terraform, if you see this, is doing a destroy and then creating a replacement. Terraform works in a destructive way. Unlike ARM, Terraform is not graceful. Terraform will try to work in a destructive way always and always. It will try to maintain a balance between whatever you say in the main file. This is very important. That's the reason the changes to these main file needs to be done very carefully, very cautiously. Whatever you declare in let's say in the main file, Terraform is going to make sure to get your state file to the same state as your desired as your main file out here. And while doing that, it will also try changing the state of the resources. So for example, here it's saying destroy and then create a replacement. So it's telling this needs to be replaced, which is resource group, and here the location, which is from sorry, which is from central US to ECS2. This is a forced replacement. So it's telling a force. So I have to first delete and then recreate the same resource group. And if you just scroll down, guys, let's see, where is the Terraform? Let's say, okay, it is okay. I don't know where that has gone, but let's see, to delete something like that. Okay, let's reapply this out, or let's replan this out. Let's see, should VS Code sometimes just consumes everything. So I'm replanning it out. It is going to the same state file. I mean, it's going to the same state file again. And the point here that I'm trying to prove is that if you look at the let's say plan that Terraform gives you, it is 2 to add and 2 to destroy. My question is that I can understand that it is destroying the resource group and recreating. Then why is it destroying the storage account, guys? Why are 2 resources to be destroyed? Why do you think this is happening here in the first place? Or do you see
Because
what is
storage
doing?
is dependent on resource group, right?
Exactly,
So
because
yeah,
storage, yes, storage is there within the resource group. And when I'm saying I'm deleting the resource group, storage account gets deleted inherently. It's telling there is one property of the storage account that is getting changed. What is that? The location. Because when I created it, I said whatever is the location of your resource group, please go ahead and create the same. Even if you don't do this, when it deletes the let's say resource group, storage account also gets deleted, and storage account also gets migrated to a different region when it's recreating it. So this has to be very, very carefully thought out. Terraforms are destructive in nature, and before you do any kind of application, any sort of application out here, you have to think twice. You have to look at your plan. Now you see that to delete that's gone. VS Code, kind of plays around with that. So yes, you have to be absolutely careful in understanding what is being replaced. So let's do one thing. Let's see another scenario. I'll put this back to central US. I'm not changing this out. And I did not do the application. I just did a planning to understand what really happens. I'll change a property of my storage account to GRS. So from LRS, I'm doing it to GRS. and I'll say save, and let me run the sorry, let me run this application command once again. So I'll come here, say Terraform, sorry, not application, planning command once again. I'll say Terraform plan once again. Now tell me, guys, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think will happen, and what do you think is going to happen? Now the property that I've updated is telling that okay, fine, the SKU being changed from LRS to GRS. Now my question, what does the state file have, guys? What is the property that the state file has? What is the property that the
Yes.
state file has, guys? LRS. Now what is going to
Yes.
happen? Yes, so what is now going to happen? Will
It's
it
going to
delete?
change the
Will it?
property.
It's sorry. It's going to change.
It won't delete the resources, just it will change the I mean
Exactly.
perms.
Zero to add, zero to destroy, one to change. Why is this? Because LRS to GRS, it is not a forced replacement. It is it is a graceful replacement. We call them as a graceful replacement because you can go ahead and without deleting the resources, you can go ahead and change the state of the resources out here. Like you can go ahead and change this particular property of the resource from LRS to GRS. So Terraform is now telling that this change is allowed. I'll go ahead and change this, and you don't even have to delete the resources. Now my question, guys, is that in the terraform.tf state, my planning is done. Planning is told me that terraform plan is now told me that there would be one change. So I'm done with the planning. Now tell me, will the property of that particular resource group in the state file, will it be updated from LRS to GRS? Yes, no, maybe, or will it
Yes.
still be LRS?
No. No.
Yes,
Because we
let's say
didn't do
no.
Terraform. Like,
Yes, we do not do Terraform apply exactly. Terraform plan will not update. Terraform plan will just see what is the existing state and try to give you a planning on what needs to be done. Terraform plan will not update these out. Terraform apply would do. Terraform apply would go ahead and do the application. So now if I go ahead and run the command called Terraform apply's job is this, to change the state file, and also in that process change the state of resources on the Azure portal. This is what Terraform application is trying to do out here as such. Yes, any questions still here? So now if you see Terraform application is going around, and in the sorry in the Terraform apply, it's again telling one to change and etc. I'll say yes, go ahead and apply this out. And once it's trying to apply again, during the application, you won't have you won't have access to, let's say, this particular state file out here. You don't have access to that because Terraform is now controlling that particular state file. And now Terraform is telling, okay, fine, the value that I got is a yes. So I'm modifying this particular resource. It's not even touching your storage account. Sorry, it's not even touching your resource group. It's just it's just modifying this particular, let's say, storage account out here. And then it's targeting one particular property of your storage account from LRS to GRS. It's telling this is done. Now if you go to the state file, now I have that property being updated from LRS to GRS out here. If I come to the Azure portal, the replication is changed to GRS. So this is how Terraform will really behave with respect to the state file and with respect to the Azure portal. It will always and always try to maintain a close balance between all these three actors, which is your configuration file, which is your state file, and which is your Azure portal. All these three should be in a, let's say, coherent state is what Terraform really suggests out here. Such. Yes, any questions till here? Anyone, any questions that I can take till here? This is very, very important to understand before we move ahead. So any questions that I can take till here?
Sir, I have one small doubt, sir.
Mhm.
Uh, for first of all, sorry, for example, in the resource group, we have so many resources are there. For example,
Yes.
storage account, different kinds of resources are there. So,
Mhm.
if I'm trying to change the location,
Mhm.
automatically, for example, in the storage, in the one resource, I have done particular changes, something,
Yes. Yes.
and so automatically it will when it will destroy that resource group, whatever the resource, and automatically it got created one more resource group with a different name, right?
When you say with a different name, why will it take a different name?
I mean, it
You
will
are
replace the resource
misupdating.
group name.
No, the point is that when you are changing the location, why will it replace
Mhm.
the name? It will just create the same name in a different location and destroy the older one.
Yes, older one. That times, what about that resources already
Everything will
automatically
get
up into?
deleted. Everything will get deleted, and whatever you mention in your template will be recreated. Whatever is not there within your template is not going to be recreated. They are going to be deleted permanently. So it will delete and recreate this out.
Okay, 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 sir. Thanks. I'm a bit confused. Sorry, I got it now.
Okay, no worries. Yes, anyone questions, guys? And this is very, very super important. So that's the reason I'm asking again and again. If there are any more questions that we can address here. Anyone, any more questions here? Okay, let's do one more thing. Now that we understand what is a state file, I hope everyone is understanding what is a state file. If not, please let me know if there are any questions right now. Because moving forward, it's going to be very difficult for you all to understand terraforms because this is the cornerstone for entire Terraform out here to understand the origin of state file and what is a state file and all these things. So now, what I'll do is that, as someone pointed out yesterday rightly, I'm hard coding my names. I'm hard coding all these things out here, which is not right. I shouldn't be hard coding my names. I shouldn't be hard coding, let's say, the storage account names or the resource names and etc. So what I'll do is I'll introduce one more file called variables.tf, a variables file, wherein I'll declare variables like the RG name, the location, and things like the storage account name, storage account SKU, couple of things. So I can say, and how do I declare it? I just do a control space. I'll say variable. So I'm until now I said provider, until now I said resources. This is the first time I'm telling it's a variable. I'll say RG name. I need to mention the type of the variable, telling that the name or the type here is a string, and I'll give the default value here as Terraform first RG. This is my default value. I'll just come down and I'll give one more variable, telling it is variable location. Again, I'll say type is a string, default value is something like Central US. Again, I'll say variable, I'll say storage account name. I'll give a type here, telling it's a string. I'll give a default value here. Is this one, whatever is the name right now that I'm using. I'll give a default value out here. And then variable, I'll say SKU, I'll say type, again string, it's a default value, and the current SKU which is GRS. I'll put here and save this file. These are all my variables. I can pass all my variables, store all my variables out here. Good. How do I use them? Is that in place of name, I'll remove my name. It's a var dot rg name. So as and when I do a var dot, it's going into the variable file. It's able to understand, okay, fine, the user has declared some variables. So let me see what are all the variables. Yes, it's saying, okay, fine, var dot rg name out here. Then I have something called location. This can be called by using a function called variable dot location. As simple as this is. Here is the storage account name, so I'll remove this out. Var dot storage account name. This is now GRS. I'll remove this out. I'll say var dot SKU. What is the advantage of this? The advantage here is that it's not hard coded, and while running your Terraform templates, please hear me out, while running the Terraform templates, you can override these values. Overriding is possible. How do I do that? Let me see. Let's go back into our PowerShell or something like that. So into a PowerShell, what I'll do is I'll just run a command, a sample command called Terraform plan and hyphen help. So I'm going ahead doing a help command here to understand what are all the other optional parameters that I can, let's say, pass with something like Terraform plan. There's something called destroy, refresh only, and all these things out, and there's something called hyphen var. So it's setting set the value for one or more input variables in the root module of the configuration. Use this option to set more than one variable out here. So what it's telling is that when you're running a Terraform plan command, you can override the variables by using something called hyphen var in single quotes. For example, I want to change this value called SKU from GRS to LRS again. So I'm telling using this particular format, I'm saying hyphen var space in quotes the name sorry, the name of the variable that is declared here is SKU, and it is value, which is LRS. Now if I go ahead and do a plan, so now I'm running the planning command. It's now running it right now. What it will do is that while running the plan command, it will update this value on the fly. It will tell, okay, fine, you know what, the value now the user is telling me to override it from GRS to LRS. So let me take that value first and let me do a plan. Again, now it will tell, okay, fine, you know what, 0 to add, 1 to change, 1 to destroy, 0 to destroy, because I'm just changing that SKU from GRS to LRS out here as such. Now do you see? It's again telling 0 to add, 1 to change, and 1 to destroy. Sorry, 0 to destroy. You can pass multiple variables here. So you can say hyphen var, and you can pass one more variable telling something like rg name is equal to something. Then you can say hyphen var, and all the variables that you declared inside your, let's say, Terraform files can be overridden. And whatever value that you pass here will be the final value that the Terraform will consider. So what I'll do, I'll just remove all these things out. I don't need these values to be overridden, because if I override them, it'll end up destroying my resources. So I just placed Terraform plan hyphen var is equal to something like this. Now tell me guys, if I do a Terraform apply, what is going to happen? If I now do a Terraform apply, what do you think is going to happen? Anyone? What do we think Terraform application will do right now? Sorry. What do we think Terraform application will do right now? Will it destroy resources? Will it change something? Or will it recreate anything?
It
Anyone?
will change something.
And what is that something that it's going to change?
SKU
SKU. From what to what?
from GRS to
GRS to
LRS.
LRS.
LRS. But what is happening here? Do you all see this?
Oh, yes, yes.
0 added, 0 change, 0 destroyed. Because you are not maintaining, or we are not maintaining, the consistency between a plan and the apply. The application command doesn't know that there's already a plan. It doesn't really know that. It doesn't know how to use that plan. So the recommendation from Terraform is that whenever you do a plan, save that plan by using something called -out. And I can give a plan telling it is uh, Terraform, something like this, some name, dot tf plan. So what I'm doing is that when I'm running my plan, I am not only planning, I am also going ahead and storing that plan into a file called terraform.tf plan. So that gets created after the plan is running. So it's comparing the state and all these things out. So that gets created after the plan, executes out here. And in this plan, I'm changing this particular parameter from GRS to LRS. I'm overriding that particular parameter. And what I'm now doing is that I'm saving, or I'm storing this particular plan somewhere. I'm not letting the plan go. I'm storing this particular plan somewhere. And that is by using something called -out command. And now you see, it's telling it's saved the plan. Till now, you do not get this message telling that, okay, fine, the plan is saved. So now it's saved the plan out here. It's telling, okay, fine, plan is saved. Now, when you do a Terraform apply, do this. Terraform itself is telling you when you do an apply, say Terraform apply space, whatever is the plan that you saved. So I'll do space and say terraform.tf plan. This is now going to be my Terraform application command. Now if I execute this out, it says, okay, fine. Okay, cannot create the plan file, couldn't find the path. Let's see, terraform.tf plan. Okay, terraform. Okay, TRR. I did not, let's say, mention that particular A here. So there is a mismatch in the name. That's fine. I'll just go ahead and execute this out. So now it's telling, okay, fine. Terraform application. If you don't pass a plan, it will try to do its own plan and then go ahead and apply it out. But now I'm telling, okay, fine, Terraform apply, and then go ahead and apply this particular plan. I'm giving it a specific plan. Plan already tells Terraform apply what to do. That's what Terraform plan is really meant to be there, to save the plan. And now it did not ask you for yes, maybe, or yes, no, and all that stuff. No, it already has a plan. You know what a plan is, and you're going ahead and actively applying that particular plan. Now it's saying, okay, fine, you know what? Now I'll go ahead, directly modify your resources and update the state file out here. Now see, 0 added, 1 change, 0 destroyed, and it's also going to go ahead and update my state file out here, LRS. And in my portal, if I just refresh this out, it is LRS. This is how all these three commands work in sync with each other. The plan, init, and apply. And now I am passing additional arguments to my Terraform plan. These are called additional arguments to these to store my state file and to go ahead and, let's say, take my state file and apply it out here as such. Yes, any questions still here that I can take? So I have introduced variables into a file called variable.tf, and I'm calling those variables by using something called var.rgname, var.location, and all these things out. Then I am also telling that the advantage of variable is that you can override it during application. You can just go ahead override all these variables during applications. And while you override, please store your plan into some file called terraform.tf plan and so on and so forth. This is going to go ahead and give you a complete file out here as such. Yes, anyone? Any more questions here? Any questions here? Anyone? Any questions? Okay, so that's it from mine, guys. Thank you and have a good day ahead. And we'll meet tomorrow and we'll discuss more in detail about Terraform. But until now, please make sure. See, I'm not going ahead and trying to rush on Terraforms because it's a very important topic. Please try to, let's say, do the same practice what we did and also try to experiment out. Because at this point, even if you delete resources, I'm not worried. But we should not repeat the same thing while we go and work in a live environment out here. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good day ahead. Thank you.